The morning sunlight poured through the kitchen blinds, painting golden stripes across the breakfast table. The air smelled of fresh coffee and the faint scent of Martha's lavender candle. She always lit one on Sunday mornings. It was Father's Day, a day that used to be filled with laughter, burned pancakes, and Emily's handmade cards. But this year was different. Emily had moved to another city for work, and though she called often, the house had felt emptier ever since. I sat at the table, flipping through the newspaper without really reading it. Martha was rinsing dishes, humming softly to herself. That's when the doorbell rang. I glanced up. Who could that be so early? Martha wiped her hands on a towel. "I'll get it." She walked to the door, her slippers brushing softly against the wooden floor. A minute later, she returned holding a small brown package, wrapped neatly in gold paper, with a white ribbon tied in a perfect bow. My name was written across the top in Emily's familiar cursive, looped and neat, just the way she used to label her school notebooks. "It's from Emily," Martha said, smiling faintly. "Says it's for you." My heart warmed. That girl never forgets. I took the box from her hands, feeling the smoothness of the wrapping, the slight weight of it. The card taped to the top read, **, to the best dad in the world. Love you always, Emily. **. Something about her handwriting made me nostalgic. I could still see her as a child, running up to me in the garden, pigtails flying, her tiny arms clutching the wildflowers she'd picked for me. "Go on," Martha said. "Open it." I reached for the ribbon, but just as I began to pull the bow loose, I heard Martha's voice again, this time sharp, urgent. "Don't open it." I froze mid-motion. Her tone was different now, flat, almost frightened. "What?" I asked, blinking. "Why not?" She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were locked on the bottom of the box. Slowly, she set her coffee mug down and stepped closer. "David," she whispered, "can't you see?" I frowned and turned the box in my hands. At first, I didn't understand what she meant. The wrapping looked normal. Gold paper, tape, ribbon. But then, as I tilted it slightly, I noticed something underneath. A faint metallic glint near the seam of the cardboard. A small black square was taped there, almost hidden under the decorative fold. A tiny red light blinked every few seconds. My mouth went dry. What the hell is that?" Martha took a step back, her face pale. "I don't know, but it's blinking. Don't move it." The air seemed to thicken around me. I felt a cold sweat form on my neck. My hands trembled as I set the box gently down on the table. "Martha," I said quietly, "you think..." She didn't let me finish. "Don't even say it. Just step away from the table." My pulse thundered in my ears. I stared at the box, at that tiny blinking light, feeling as if the room itself had shrunk around us. This wasn't a normal gift. Something was wrong. I took a deep breath. "I'm calling the police." Martha nodded mutely, her eyes never leaving the box. My fingers fumbled with the phone, dialing 911. The dispatcher's calm voice barely registered in my head as I explained the situation. Suspicious package, unknown device, possible explosive. Within minutes, she said, a team would be dispatched. She instructed us to leave the house immediately. We stepped outside, our slippers crunching on the gravel driveway. The morning sun suddenly felt cold. Across the street, Mrs. Langley peered through her curtains, her face wrinkled in curiosity and concern. 10 minutes later, the distant wail of sirens filled the neighborhood. Police cars arrived first, followed by a bomb disposal unit. They cordoned off our home with yellow tape, asking us to stand across the street. I watched from afar as a man in a heavy protective suit entered the house, his movements deliberate and careful. Every passing second stretched like an eternity. I could barely breathe. Martha's hand gripped mine tightly, and for once there was no pretense between us. Just fear. After what felt like an hour, the bomb technician finally emerged, carrying the box in a clear protective container. He set it inside his van. One of the officers approached us. his expression serious but calm. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter," he said. "We've secured the package. Was it?" My voice cracked. "Was it dangerous?" The officer hesitated. "We're still analyzing it, but the device wasn't explosive. It appears to be an electronic component, possibly a transmitter or a recording device." "A recording device?" I echoed. "Yes, we'll know more once the tech team runs it through diagnostics." I felt dizzy. My daughter had sent me a Father's Day gift, and it had a hidden recorder attached to it. The thought twisted in my mind like a knife. Was this some kind of prank, or something worse? Martha was silent, her face unreadable. When the officer walked away, I turned to her. "You think Emily would do something like this?" She looked at me, eyes dark and distant. "I don't know, David. Maybe she knows something you don't." Her words cut deeper than I expected. What's that supposed to mean? But she didn't answer. She just looked at the house, then at the flashing police lights, her jaw clenched. That night, after the officers left, our home felt foreign cold, stripped of comfort. The table was bare where the box had sat. The faint imprint of the ribbon still marked the wood. I sat there long after Martha went to bed, replaying every moment in my head. I thought about Emily, her laugh, her honesty, her stubborn heart. She wasn't capable of cruelty. But then, why would she send me something like that? Unless she didn't send it at all, at 2 a.m., I opened my phone and stared at her contact photo. I typed a message, erased it, typed again, erased it again. Finally, I just wrote, "Emily, I got your package. Call me, please. Something's wrong." The message showed as delivered but not read . I sat there in silence, the shadows stretching long across the kitchen walls. The ticking of the clock was the only sound. Outside, the neighborhood was still, peaceful, but inside me, something had cracked open a small, sharp realization that whatever that box meant, it was only the beginning. And somewhere deep down, I already knew. The truth inside that gift was far more dangerous than any bomb. The morning after the police left, our home felt like an emptied shell. The scent of lavender had faded, replaced by a faint metallic odor from where the officers had dusted for prints. Even the silence seemed heavier, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. Martha was already awake when I came downstairs. She stood by the sink, staring out the window with a mug of untouched coffee in her hands. The police had told us not to move anything until the investigation report came through, but the kitchen looked spotless. She'd spent the night cleaning not just the house, but it seemed every trace of yesterday. I cleared my throat. Did they call back yet? She didn't turn, no. I poured myself coffee, but the warmth didn't comfort me. The image of that blinking red light still burned in my mind. I couldn't stop imagining Emily's face, her smile, her voice, and wondering why . "She's not answering her phone," I said after a long silence, "not her messages either." Martha finally spoke softly. "Maybe she's scared." "Scared of what?" I asked of me. Her eyes flicked toward me then, sharp, tired, and filled with something I couldn't read. "Maybe of what you've done." Her words hit me like ice water. I almost dropped my cup. "What I've done, Martha, what are you talking about?" She turned fully now, setting the mug down with a clink. "Don't play innocent, David. That photo the police found inside the box, the one they showed us last night. You're telling me you don't know who that woman is." I blinked. "Photo? What photo?" "The one inside the package," she said, her voice tightening. "You didn't see. The police showed me before they took it away. A picture of you smiling with another woman, young, blonde, her arm around your shoulder like she belonged there." I felt my throat close. "That's impossible. I never, don't." She interrupted, her voice rising. "Don't you dare say you don't know her, David. Her name was printed on the back, Lydia ring a bell." I shook my head slowly. "I don't know anyone named Lydia." Martha crossed her arms. "Then explain why she's in a photo with you at that lakeside cabin." The same one where we spent our anniversary 3 years ago. My mind reeled, asterisk, the cabin asterisk. I remembered that weekend, the fog, the fireplace, the quiet peace of being away from everything. But in that memory there was no other woman, only Martha and me. Martha, I said, trying to steady my voice, someone's trying to make it look like something it isn't. Those photos must be fake, she snapped, edited. You think I'm stupid? I think someone is trying to hurt us, I said, louder now. To hurt asterisk me asterisk, maybe even Emily. You saw that device. It was recording us, Martha. Someone wanted to see how we'd react. But she didn't listen. She just shook her head slowly, as if every word I said only confirmed her suspicions. You've been distant for months, she murmured. Coming home late, secretive phone calls. I thought it was stress, but now. I slammed my cup down. Stop. You think I'd cheat on you? After everything we've built together. The silence that followed was heavier than shouting. She looked at me, and in her eyes I saw not anger, but something worse. Doubt. That night she packed a suitcase. She didn't say she was leaving for good, only that she needed space. She told me she'd stay with her sister, Linda, until things made sense again. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. My words were useless against whatever poison had started to seep between us. After she left, I sat in the living room, the box still sealed in the police evidence bag on the table. I stared at it for hours. The gold wrapping was torn in places where the bomb technician had handled it. Beneath the surface, I could still see faint indentations, like finger marks pressed into the paper. And then I saw it, something I hadn't noticed before. A small handwritten note, halved, Orne, stuck between the folds of the ribbon. My heart skipped as I carefully slid it free. It wasn't in Emily's handwriting, it was in Martha's. Asterisk, you'll finally see what kind of man he really is. Asterisk, I froze, my breath hitched. The paper trembled between my fingers. Why would asterisk Martha asterisk write that? And more importantly, asterisk when asterisk? The police had taken the box before I even looked closely. That meant this note had been hidden there from the start. A sick realization began to form, one I didn't want to believe. I picked up my phone again and called Emily's number. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. Finally, I texted, asterisk, Emily, I need to know the truth about the gift box. Did you send it? Please, sweetheart, just tell me. Asterisk minutes passed. Then an hour, still no response. Outside, the sky darkened. Thunder rolled in the distance, faint but heavy, like the sound of something inevitable drawing closer. When the phone finally buzzed, I nearly dropped it. It wasn't Emily. It was a blocked number. I hesitated before answering. Hello. A woman's voice, low, distorted, whispered through the line. You should have opened the box, David. You'd have seen everything. The call ended before I could respond. I stood there frozen, the phone pressed to my ear long after the silence returned. Every nerve in my body was on fire. The note, the photos, the device, the call, it was all connected, but by whom? The shadows that had entered my home that morning were no longer outside. They were crawling through my marriage, my memories, my very sanity. As lightning flashed through the window, I caught my reflection in the glass. My face looked older, tired, unfamiliar, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I was the victim of someone's twisted game, or if I had already been judged and sentenced by the people I loved most. Either way, I knew one thing. The truth was no longer hiding in the box. It was hiding in the people who told me not to open it. The rain didn't stop for 2 days. It fell in steady sheets against the windows, turning the world outside into a gray blur. Inside, I sat surrounded by silence, my only company the dull hum of the refrigerator and the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. Martha hadn't called. Emily still hadn't answered. The police had left me a brief voicemail saying the device was non-threatening and that they would return the package once their analysis was complete. But I didn't care about that anymore. Something darker was gnawing at me, the note in Martha's handwriting. Asterisk, you'll finally see what kind of man he really is. Asterisk, I turned it over in my hands for the 100th time, tracing the sharpness of her pen strokes. It was definitely hers. The same loops and slants she'd used in every birthday card and grocery list for the past 30 years. But why would she hide it inside the gift box? Why would she make me believe Emily sent it? By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a small bag, threw my phone charger inside, and got into the car. The rain followed me as I drove long streaks on the windshield, blurring the empty highway. I told myself I was just going to see Emily to get answers, but deep down, I knew I was running from something I couldn't face at home. Emily lived 3 hours away, in a small city apartment near the university where she worked. When I pulled into her street, the sun was already setting, casting everything in that sickly orange glow that comes before night. I rang her doorbell once, twice, 3 times, no answer. My stomach tightened. I tried the handle, locked. I was about to turn away when I noticed the door frame, splintered, as though someone had forced it open. Emily, I called, stepping inside. The air was cold and still. The lights were off, the curtains half drawn. The apartment smelled faintly of vanilla and dust. Her shoes were by the door. Her purse was on the table. But Emily herself was nowhere. Something was wrong. I flicked on the living room light and froze. The place was a mess, drawers pulled out, papers scattered across the floor, a broken picture frame on the sofa. Someone had gone through everything. Jesus, I whispered. I searched the apartment room by room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. No sign of her, just chaos and fear. In the bedroom, I found her laptop open on the bed, the screen cracked. I touched the keyboard, still faintly warm. She hadn't been gone long. As I looked around, something caught my eye, a small envelope sticking out from under the pillow. My name was written across it, asterisk Dad. Asterisk, my heart pounded as I tore it open. Inside was a letter, written in Emily's neat handwriting. Asterisk Dad, if you're reading this, it means something went wrong. I wanted to come home for Father's Day and talk to you in person, but Mom told me not to. She said it wasn't safe. Asterisk, asterisk, I found things in her desk drawer, documents, receipts, accounts in both your names, but only her signature. She's been taking money, Dad, from your retirement fund, from the business accounts. She said it was temporary, but there's more to it. There's someone else involved. Asterisk, asterisk, I think her friend Richard knows everything. I followed him once to that lawyer's office downtown. The one that handles your estate. I saw Mom there too. Asterisk, asterisk, I think they're planning something against you. Please be careful. If I don't come home soon, don't trust anyone, not even her. Asterisk, asterisk, I love you, Dad. I'll fix this, I promise. Asterisk, asterisk, Emily. Asterisk, I stood there in silence, the paper trembling between my fingers. Every line of it felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Martha, my wife, had been stealing from me. Plotting with Richard, and Emily had found out. I sank onto the bed, my mind racing back through every moment of the past week. The fear in Martha's eyes, the insistence not to open the box, her accusations, the fake photo. It all made sense now. The box wasn't a threat. It was a test. Emily had hidden the recording device inside to capture Martha's reaction, to see if she'd panic. That's why the red light blinked. It wasn't meant to scare me. It was meant to asterisk reveal her asterisk, but Martha had realized it before I did. And she'd turned it into a weapon. I looked around the apartment again, and my pulse quickened. If Martha knew that Emily had found evidence, she wouldn't sit quietly. And if Emily had disappeared, then maybe she hadn't done so willingly. I grabbed the letter, folded it carefully, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I called the police. They arrived within 20 minutes, 2 officers who took photos, wrote notes, and promised to issue a missing person report. But their eyes told me they didn't believe anything serious had happened yet. Adults sometimes go off for a few days. One of them said, "We'll keep you updated." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just nodded and watched them leave. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in a motel by the highway. I laid awake staring at the ceiling, Emily's words echoing over and over in my mind. Asterisk, don't trust anyone, not even her. Asterisk, by morning, my decision was made. If the police weren't going to find the truth, I would. I drove to the business office I owned with Richard, the man I had once called a friend. He wasn't there. But his secretary looked nervous when she saw me. "Mr. Carter," she said softly, "Mr. Hayes has been out of town for a few days. He mentioned meeting with your wife." My stomach dropped. "Meeting where?" She hesitated, glancing toward the back office. "The lakeside cabin, sir. The one you and your wife used to visit. He asked me to forward some documents there. The asterisk cabin asterisk." The same one from the doctored photo. The puzzle pieces locked together with brutal clarity. That image of me with another woman. It wasn't about infidelity. It was about asterisk, discrediting asterisk me. If Martha and Richard wanted to seize control of my assets, they needed to paint me as unstable, unfaithful, unworthy. The recording device, the fake photos, they were staging evidence to ruin me completely. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. As I drove toward the cabin, the rain began again, light at first, then heavier, washing over the windshield like ghosts. The road twisted through the trees, familiar and cruel. Every bend brought back memories of Martha's laughter, Emily's childhood summers, the smell of firewood and pine. When I reached the gate, I saw the lights were on inside. 2 cars parked near the porch, Martha's silver sedan, and a black Mercedes I recognized as Richard's. I killed the engine and sat in silence, staring at that warm yellow glow from the windows. Inside were the answers. Inside was the truth. I wasn't ready to face it, but I had no choice anymore. The past I thought I buried was already clawing its way back. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left in the dark. The cabin sat quiet beneath the rain, its wooden walls glistening under the dim porch light. I hadn't been here in 3 years, not since that anniversary weekend when Martha and I still believed in each other. Now the place looked smaller, lonelier, a monument to the lie that had been my marriage. I parked far enough down the gravel path so they wouldn't hear the engine. The rain covered my footsteps as I crept closer. Through the front window, I saw them, Martha and Richard, sitting at the dining table with a laptop open between them. Papers scattered across the wood. A bottle of wine half empty. Martha's hair was pinned up, her face drawn but alert. Richard leaned close to her, pointing at something on the screen. I could hear faint voices through the glass. "Once we move the last transfer, the accounts will be in your name," Richard was saying. "After that, he can't touch a cent." Martha sighed. "He's starting to suspect. Emily's disappearance has made him unpredictable. Then it's good we acted first," Richard replied. "Once this hits the press, the photos, the recordings, he'll look like a lunatic. You'll get sympathy, and the company board will push him out." Martha nodded slowly, taking a sip of her wine. "And what about Emily?" Richard shrugged. "She won't be a problem. She's smart, but not invincible. People disappear all the time." I felt my stomach twist. My fingers curled into fists. They spoke about my daughter's life like it was an obstacle, like she was just another loose end to be cut away. But I didn't rush in, not yet. I needed them to hang themselves with their own words. Earlier that day, I'd met with an old friend, a retired police investigator named Grant, who owed me more than a few favors. When I told him everything, he didn't laugh. He didn't even doubt me. He simply handed me a small recording device and said, "Let them talk, David. Let them bury themselves." So I'd come prepared. I set my phone to record and placed it against the window pane, just close enough to catch their voices clearly. I waited, my heart pounding in rhythm with the rain. Once David's declared incompetent, Martha continued, "We can claim power of attorney. That's what the lawyer said, right?" Richard nodded. "Exactly. Then you and I can move abroad, start over." She smiled faintly. "A new life, no more lies." "No," he said, smirking. "Only the ones that got us here." They laughed, a low, ugly sound that hollowed out my chest. That was enough. I stepped out from the shadows and knocked on the door once, firmly. Their laughter stopped. The light footsteps inside froze. Then the latch turned. Martha opened the door, her face draining of color when she saw me. "David," she whispered. "What are you—" "Hello, Martha," I said quietly. "Richard." Richard stood behind her, his expression hardening into something between annoyance and fear. "How did you—" "Find you?" I smiled faintly. "You left a trail. You always do." Martha's voice trembled. "David, I can explain." "Don't." I cut her off. "Not yet. You've talked enough. Now it's my turn." I stepped inside. The warmth of the cabin wrapped around me, but it didn't touch the chill in my bones. The laptop screen glowed on the table, displaying spreadsheets, offshore accounts, and email chains. Every number was a wound, every file a betrayal. I looked at her. "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long have you been stealing from me?" I demanded. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Instead, Richard spoke. "Don't make this ugly, David. You've been out of control for months. Everyone's noticed it. You've made mistakes, financial, personal," I said sharply. "You mean those fake photos, the ones you two created to make me look like a cheater, or the fake evidence you planted in my daughter's gift box?" Martha's face flickered with panic. "I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying." My voice cracked, echoing through the small room. "Emily found your secret accounts. She found *U* here, and now she's gone. What did you do to her?" For a moment, I thought Martha might break, but then she hardened, her chin lifting defiantly. "She ruined everything. She had to be stopped." The room went silent. I felt the world tilt beneath me. My vision blurred, my heart slamming in my chest. Richard stepped forward, raising a hand. "Don't do anything stupid, David." I laughed bitterly. "You already did." I pulled out my phone, showing the blinking red light. "Everything you just said is being recorded. Every single word." Richard's face drained of color. "You're bluffing, am I?" I said, pressing the screen. The playback began, Martha's voice crystal clear. She ruined everything. She had to be stopped. The sound filled the cabin, bouncing off the walls. Martha gasped, covering her mouth. Richard cursed under his breath and lunged for me, but I'd anticipated that too. Within seconds, headlights flooded through the window. Police sirens cut through the night. Doors slammed. Voices shouted, "Police! Hands where we can see them!" Martha turned toward me, eyes wide with disbelief. "You called them?" "No," I said softly. "They called me. They've been listening the whole time. Grant had wired the signal directly to the station before I even left town. All I had to do was start the recording." Richard tried to bolt, but 2 officers burst through the door, forcing him to the floor. Martha just stood there trembling, her wine glass slipping from her hand and shattering against the wood. As they read her rights, she looked at me one last time. The woman I had once loved, the mother of my child, now nothing but a stranger. Her lips quivered. "David, please." I shook my head. "You took everything from me, from her. You made me doubt my own daughter." Tears filled her eyes. "I never meant—" "Yes," I said quietly, "you did." They led her out into the rain, her silhouette shrinking in the flashing red and blue lights. I stood in the doorway until the sound of the sirens faded into the distance. The silence that followed was suffocating. For a long time, I just stared at the empty road, the rain running down my face, mingling with the tears I refused to admit were there. A week later, the police found Emily. She'd been hiding in a friend's cabin up north, terrified but alive. She told them she'd escaped when Richard's men came to search her apartment. She'd planned to go to the authorities, but she didn't know who to trust. When they told her what had happened, that her mother and Richard were under arrest, she cried, not out of relief, but heartbreak. When I finally saw her again, she ran straight into my arms and sobbed. I held her so tightly I could feel her heartbeat against mine. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered. "I tried to protect you." "You did," I said. "You saved me." A year later, Father's Day came again. The house was quiet, peaceful. No police, no lies, just the smell of coffee and the morning sun on the table. I was sitting by the window reading when the doorbell rang. On the porch sat a small box neatly wrapped in gold paper with a white ribbon. My heart skipped, but this time I smiled. The handwriting on the tag was unmistakable. Asterisk to Dad, the bravest man I know. Love, Emily. Asterisk. I brought it inside, sat down, and opened it slowly. Inside was a simple wooden picture frame. It held a photo of us, smiling, genuine, free. Underneath in her handwriting were the words, asterisk, "You taught me love is patient even when betrayed." Asterisk. For a long time I just stared at it, the edges of the photo blurring through my tears. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky had cleared. And for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Peace.